Conference, I want to begin my speech today with some thank yous. To my brilliant team, Gloria Piero, Ian Lucas, Ian Austin and Ian Murray for their commitment and support during the past year. To Sophie, David and my constituency team for their endless patience and sound advice. But most of all, to you. Those of us who sit at the top table of the Labour Party in Parliament should never forget the debt of gratitude we owe to the party activists, the trade unionists and party staff who in every community, in every part of this country, are the heart and soul of this great movement. Conference, the history of the relationship between this party and the Murdoch press is a complex and tortuous one. But what can never be complex or tortuous is the responsibility of politicians to stand up for the public interest without fear or favour. That is why today, please join me once again in paying tribute to the courage and the tenacity of Tom Watson, Chris Bryant and John Prescott for the service that they have done to our country in exposing the phone hacking scandal. And Conference, let us also recognise that when the country reacted with revulsion to the news that Millie Dowler's phone had been hacked, while the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister dithered, it was our leader, Ed Miliband, who day after day provided the leadership which was needed and spoke for the nation when he said, "Enough is enough." Of course, Conference, we must wait for the police to do their work and the Leveson inquiry to report. But there are some lessons that we should learn now. Firstly, never again can one commercial organisation have so much power and control over our media. In the period ahead, Labour will bring forward proposals for new, tougher cross-media ownership laws. Secondly, in Britain, a free press is non-negotiable. It was brilliant investigative journalism by The Guardian which forced a reopening of the police investigation when too many vested interests simply hoped it would go away. But Conference, with freedom also comes responsibility. Neither the current broken system of self-regulation or state oversight will achieve the right balance. We need a new system of independent regulation, including proper like-for-like redress, which means mistakes and falsehoods on the front page receive apologies and retraction on the front page. And as in other professions, the industry should consider whether people guilty of gross malpractice should be struck off. Thirdly, a message for Mr. Murdoch. Your newspapers and Sky TV are popular with millions of British people. Some people in our movement might find that uncomfortable, but it's true. However, and yes, Conference, we should have said this a long time ago. Mr. Murdoch, never again think you can assert political power in the pursuit of your commercial interests or ideological beliefs. This is Britain, Mr. Murdoch. The integrity of our media and our politics is not for sale. And Mr. Cameron, I believe in second chances too. So let me give you another second chance to level with the British people. Isn't it time you and George Osborne came clean about why you appointed Andy Coulson in the first place? And despite numerous warnings, took him to the heart of our democracy at number 10 Downing Street. Conference, in just over a year, Jeremy Hunt, I did say Hunt, has gone from rising star to the long list of wannabe former potential prime ministers. This Tory-led government have decimated our world-leading school sports system, launched a concerted attack on public investment in the arts, threaten many libraries and are marginalising creativity in our education system. At a time when jobs and growth should be a top priority, their VAT increase is bad for tourism and delayed broadband rollout is bad for business. The height of their ambition for London 2012 is to deliver a successful one-off event, in stark contrast to Labour's Olympic legacy vision to deliver the biggest expansion of sports participation in our history. But conference, criticising them is not enough. As Ed has said this week, we have to give people a sense of how we would do things differently. So let me give you some examples. The success of our creative industries is at serious risk due to global competition, the impact of the new digital economy, and the policies of this government. If these industries are to provide the British jobs of the future, we need a government committed not to a helpline, but to an active industrial strategy. Earlier this month, Ed and I launched Labour's new Creative Industry Network. The network will pilot a fairness pledge to encourage those historically closed industries to open up their internships, their apprenticeships and their jobs to people based on talent, not social background or family networks. And I'm delighted to announce today that Channel 4, Virgin Media, UK Music, the Royal Shakespeare Company, the Advertising Association and the Sharp Project have all agreed to sign up to this pledge. Who says Labour can't make a difference in opposition? And we hope in the days and the months ahead, many other businesses and organisations will follow suit and break down the barriers which have no place in a 21st century Britain. Conference, we should be proud of Labour's groundbreaking free admissions to museums and to galleries, and proud of our great local, national and global arts institutions. This party should celebrate, not be embarrassed by cultural excellence, but we should be concerned that in whole swathes of our country, north, east, south, west, there are still too many communities which don't have fair access to great theatre, live music, art, opera, history or heritage. Conference, cultural inequality offends Labour values. In the same way that every community expects fair access to education, the NHS and policing, we should ask, how can we harness the excellence of our great cultural institutions to enrich the lives of all our citizens, from the great metropolitan centres to the inner cities and rural communities? I'm not arguing in these difficult times for more spending. Ed Balls wouldn't let me. But even after the cuts, £552 million is being spent via the Arts Council and the National Lottery. As we shape new cultural policy for the future, let us lead a national debate about what fair access to arts and heritage should mean at the beginning of the 21st century. Conference, in the future, I also want us to be radical in putting sport at the heart of our policy agenda. Sport is a health policy, an education policy, an economic policy, and a community cohesion policy. Equally, it's time to ask some fundamental questions about the relationship between grassroots and high-level professional sport. To use football as an example, the Premier League is a tremendous commercial success and in many ways has rejuvenated our national game. But can it be right that last year they turned over £2 billion and top-flight players are earning an average of £72,000 per week, while the Football Foundation's funding, which supports improvements to local pitches and changing facilities, can only scratch the surface of need, and that is now being cut? Surely, not only the kids, but the thousands of soccer and hockey mums and dads, volunteer coaches and organisers, who are the hidden heroes of our grassroots sport, have a right to ask, how can that be fair? They have a right to expect our party to ask those questions, and we will not let them down. And can I also be clear, as we meet today in this great city of Liverpool, when Parliament resumes, Labour will stand shoulder to shoulder with the Hillsborough families in demanding the full disclosure of all government documents relating to that horrific tragedy. Conference, let me end by saying this. The first Labour conference I attended was not as a special advisor, but as a steward. There wasn't much security in those days. I was told to look out for any dodgy-looking delegates. Believe me, conference, it was a full-time job then. I would never have dreamt that I would have the chance to serve 9 years as a minister in a Labour government and become a member of the shadow cabinet. But I didn't join the Labour Party in order to join the establishment. I did so because I had a burning desire to help people build a more just society. I didn't just want to explain the world as it is. I wanted to change the world. 22 years on, that burning desire is as strong as ever. We should oppose this Conservative government when they are wrong, with all the strength that we can muster. But we must also, conference, be the party of change, offering a different vision for a better future. And that is what I intend to do. Thank you, conference.